Welcome back to another episode of Greenhouse Gals at Buchwalter Greenhouse. I'm Tiffany.
Yeah, and I'm Olivia.
And it's April. We're finally at April.
Yes.
Early April, early spring. And this is the intense time, like just before everyone can start planting all their spring flowers, but you still have an itch to get in the dirt.
Yes.
So what can you plant?
Right. Yeah, early flowers. What can we plant?
Have you ever heard of hellebores or Lenten rose before?
Yeah, I have not, but when I started last year, and yeah, it was the first thing I priced. It was my first plant that I had to put the stickers on.
When you started working here?
So it was the first perennial that I learned about. So,
wow, that was it must have been a good core memory that you remember that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, so hellebores, they are a perennial, so they come back every year, and they are sometimes called Lenten rose because they often start blooming during Lent. They come in shades of pinks to like rosy purples and white, and they bloom now. I planted some last year because I didn't have any at my house, and I planted like a white one and a pink one, and I couldn't believe, like, these have about 2 to 3 stems of flowers on them as a first year plant. Mine coming back the second year easily doubled how many flowers it had, and I don't usually see that with perennials. Usually it takes 2 or 3 years before they're really looking awesome.
That's great. Yeah, a question I think someone even asked me is, how do they spread, and how can she multiply them? Is it a seed? Do they put off a seed, or is it division, kind of like a hosta? Like, even if you wanted to share it or something,
right?
Split it up.
It would be more like a hosta.
Okay.
If you have one long enough, because they get bigger and wider each year, but they're not going to pop up over in a different spot.
Okay.
They don't send out runners or anything like that. So I'd say if you get it, your plant gets to a size that's about 2 to 3 feet, 2 feet, really even. But they're not going to get much bigger than 2 to 3 feet wide. Then you could take a sharp shovel and sever it.
Okay.
And dig that chunk up from the side of it and give it to someone or replant it somewhere else.
Yeah. But they are kind of reproducing underground and then they pop back up the next year.
Like a root type deal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, that's hellebores. Very cool. Very hardy.
You can use them in if you've not had one before, you can use them in containers on your porch, or just set them in a pretty pot and then plant them later. They're really fun to decorate with for Easter because there's not a lot here in Wayne County, Ohio, that you can do outside with Easter. Granted, Easter is later this year, but I've paired these with other things, like pansies are a good one that you can plant early, and little violas. They take the cold.
Yeah.
And not everybody realizes that.
Right.
They'll take a light frost and they'll look like they died. Literally, they'll be all flat and droopy, and then when the sun comes out and it warms up, they perk back up.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
True. Yeah, that's good. Pansies and violas. Let's go into that one. Pansies, how cold can it really get till they're gonna die?
I mean, if you get down in the teens, you're gonna see some probably serious damage on the plant. You wouldn't necessarily kill them if they've already been outside and used to the colder weather. But you start to get to teens and lower, then it'll probably eventually kill them.
Yeah.
But a night or two is not that big a deal. So 20s, they're fine with. It's upper 60s today, which is and super humid.
Yes.
But it's coming up here in a couple of days. It's supposed to be in the 20s at night. Yeah. And you don't have to cover them. They'll be fine.
Right.
They'll perk back. Any of these would be fine.
Yeah. So then you do, what if they look bad in the morning? Just let them go?
Don't have to do anything.
Does the sun, just the warmth, they naturally...
They'll just gradually, gradually warm up. Hellebores will do the same thing too. I know mine are up like this at home, and they'll probably look like they all fall over when it's 20s in a couple days. And as it warms up, they'll perk back up and like nothing happened.
Nice, very good. And then another thing was rain. I know we even moved stuff in and out from the greenhouse under cover. Yes. Protecting pansies from rain. Why is that important? What does that do?
For us, as a greenhouse, the rain, I'd say it kind of beats down on the petals. So it's not that it kills the plant, it just makes them look a little rough around the edges. So you might see little white spots in the purple petals. Yes. And that was it getting essentially like bruised.
Yeah.
And beat by little raindrops.
Yeah.
So do you have to cover them when it rains? No. But if you have a really pretty planter and you want it to look nice for a special occasion, you know, it's real easy just to pick that pot up when it's going to rain really hard and move it under cover.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Pansies are great. Violas, though, I'm just curious, why are they different than pansies? They look the same. They're just mini, but like it's a different plant. Yeah. Why are they actually different, or what's the difference?
It's basically like a miniature pansy.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're basically miniatures.
Okay.
Yeah, the leaves are the same. The flower itself won't ever get as big as what a pansy does.
Okay.
But you sometimes you can have more of them. You might get more flowers just because they're tinier. So they're nice to complement each other. Even if you're like, we're doing mixed planters here, we'll use the two just for different variation in size.
Yeah.
Put them together, something shorter in the front of a pot. And a lot of people will think that they come back every year, and it's not the same plant coming back. It's that the seeds dropped down and resprouted.
Okay.
So
it is seeds.
They can reseed themselves, but it's not the same plant coming back.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good to know. Okay, nice. So yeah, pansies, violas, hellebores, I know we use those in like all of our containers here. Primrose, I didn't have primrose down, but that one is a good one.
Primrose are a good early flower. They are another one that blooms when it's cool out. And they're tender perennials. Okay. So you can plant the primrose in the ground in your flower beds, and they'll come back for a couple years. They're not something that tends to have a long lifespan. And I don't know if you realize this, but the yellow ones smell good.
Yes, I do remember that.
None of the other colors have a scent, but if you want just a really good smell of spring, smell a yellow primrose.
Yeah. Very good. I don't know if this is relevant or not, but you know, the Hunger Games, we watched it in school, and like I was obsessed with it for my teenage life, you know. But they have Primrose as like the girl that like dies, so they plant Primrose in memory.
Okay.
So like, is that literally the primrose flower?
Probably.
You know, like
I'm not a good reference for the Hunger Games.
But
I think I watched the first one, and it stressed me out so much that I couldn't watch any other ones.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even watch the first one.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of like the mom in me.
Yeah.
When there's anything like traumatic with kids, I'm just like, I'm done.
Yes.
I'm not watching the rest of
that's
it.
what my mom says too. But there's a whole story. There's a whole purpose. They're trying to protect the kids.
It's a good,
Whatever. I know. So that's Primrose.
I'm sorry, I can't verify what they planted.
Yes, it's okay. That's all I think of when I think of Primrose now.
That's funny.
So, that's that. Okay, let's talk about bulbs, of course. Easter bulbs, tulips, daffodils. Those are like the best things we see in natural. Like they just pop up.
Yes, and anything that's coming up on its own outside, you don't have to worry about covering it for cold weather or frost. There are some people that can get anxious because, I don't want my tulips to get damaged. So, for example, in this pot, there's tulips right here, but they're not blooming yet. You don't see any color. So that bud is down inside of this leaf, and it's going to be protected from cold.
Okay.
Once they're out, that's when, and you're looking at having freezing or below temperatures, then you have the possibility of those flowers being damaged. If you just have a couple, sure, you could put some kind of bucket over top of them or a light sheet, like fabric sheet, to protect them. It's not that the plant's going to die, it's just the flower might be damaged a bit.
Yes.
I've seen tulips blooming and then the petals just kind of fall over. Like not the petals, the whole flower.
Right.
Falls over from the frost. They never really stand up straight again.
Okay.
But they're still there.
Right. Yeah.
And then on the reverse side, if it's an abnormally warm spring where we have upper 60s, 70s day after day, they're not going to last as long.
True. Yeah.
Because they bloom out faster.
Yeah.
It's the cool temperatures that preserve them and keep them nice like a refrigerator.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I was gonna say, what does the cold do for bulbs? And yeah, it does. And they need that cold, like, and then planting time. Like I planted my tulips in the fall, like for the spring. But what if can you do it now? Like, can you buy bulbs now, or did you miss the time?
You would. So now you would be finding bulbs available as far as daffodils and tulips that are already up. You can still plant those.
Okay.
I like to get them and put them in a pot at home, and then when they're done blooming, I'll plant them in my flower bed somewhere because I know they'll come back next year. So if you want to plant in mass, if you want to plant a whole bunch of daffodils or a whole bunch of tulips, I would recommend doing it in the fall because then you only have to get the bulbs. You're not buying a pot with the soil and everything else with it. Yeah. It's much more cost effective, and it's a lot smaller hole to dig.
Yes. Just drop it in there.
I have been also known to redig up my bulbs when they start blooming and put them in a pot.
Okay.
Just so I don't have to buy another one, and then I'll just replant it again.
Nice. Okay. Very, very good. Good tip. Awesome. Yeah, so that's bulbs. How do flowers survive the cold, and what makes flowers need those specific temps? Like, inside the plant, and like any science you can give us behind why are these cold flowers special? Like, how can they be this early? Do you know?
Wow, that is a really good question. And it's super deep and scientific. I don't know that I can give you that answer.
I just wonder.
They were definitely designed that way to come up early. And everything, although if you think about perennials and bulbs, everything kind of has a season in which it blooms. And it very well could just be God's way of saying, instead of just having one little spot of the year that you can enjoy flowers, here's some things that will come up early, and here's some things that will come up later. But yeah, bulbs themselves need at least 8 to 10 weeks of a chill period in order to even bloom. Yeah. So if you plant, if you miss planting your bulbs, let's say in the fall, and you still have them in your garage, if the bulb's still firm, go ahead and stick it in the ground. It just might not bloom this coming year. Okay. It may need a second year. It might just get leaves. But if it's squishy, it rotted. Okay. Don't waste your time.
It's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very good. That's all I have for our early flowers. Yeah, good selection. Like, there are things you can plant now in April.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining us on the Greenhouse Gals. We will talk to you guys again next week.
Yes.